Tai and Matt's first argument. Izzy creates a map of the Cloud Continent. Tai and Greymon refuse to give up. And MetalTyrannomon vs MetalGreymon. These are the headlines coming out of episode 10 of Digimon Adventure 2020, the Steel Solid Evolution. So let's look at the good, the bad, and the straight up ugly from this week's episode of Digimon Adventure 2020. Let's start off with the good. It seems Ogremon's sacrifice really did help them escape. I was getting worried that in this episode, that sacrifice would have been made redundant. It would have been made for nothing. And that straight from the get-go, we would be fighting MetalTyrannomon straight away. And that they couldn't escape. But I'm so happy the sacrifice meant something. And in this episode, in general, Ogremon was the main talking point for the Digidestined team. Ogremon might not have beaten MetalTyrannomon, but that wasn't the point of their sacrifice. The main aim was to just throw everything at him. Because screw it, Devimon snaked me, and so with this, the last bit of energy left. It won't do anything, but let me help the Digidestined in any way I can. That was the mindset of Ogremon. And he did by helping them safely escape. So I was happy for that. And I was happy for him being remembered like this. Our little genius Izzy recorded the battle between MetalTyrannomon and Greymon in the previous episode, which comes into use later on in the episode. I like it because in the original they never thought about recording the enemies, but recording them gives them a database on how the enemy fights and tells them their weaknesses. Like in this episode, Izzy figured out that when MetalTyrannomon switches from missile mode to laser mode, he takes a bit of time to load up the attack, which helped Tai and Greymon immensely in this episode, which showed that not only is Izzy one of the leaders of the team, but showed off his proactive side to think ahead in upcoming battles. Matt was trying to comfort Tai, telling him what more could they have done, and he regrets not learning any more information, which leads to the first real argument between Tai and Matt in this series. Tai explains the fight wasn't about information, it was a fight between two warriors with their pride on the line. Listening to this, Matt is calling him naive for making friends out of his enemies and that Ogremon could have laid a trap, which is true. Both of them have solid points in their argument, and you can see it from both Tai and Matt's perspective. From Matt's side, I can understand why he's saying this. Firstly, Matt was trying to comfort Tai because he was seeing Tai was in complete despair. So he thought, let me say this to him to cheer him up. Let me say to him that there was not much we could do, which is true. A champion facing an ultimate, more often than not, there's always one winner in this scenario. In the original series, whenever Tai and Matt had an argument, it's usually Matt losing his cool and to start the arguing. But this time, it was Tai who lost his cool. Matt wasn't seeing the fight between Ogremon and Greymon emotionally, he was seeing it through a logical way. He wasn't seeing two warriors fight one another in the name of their honor. He just saw Greymon fighting one of the leaders of the evil Digimon that has been constantly attacking the group ever since they came to the digital world in a fight. He was looking at it through the opinion of Ogremon was still the enemy and was trying to stop their objectives of saving the Holy Angel Digimon, instead of seeing it for what it truly was, a personal duel between Greymon and Ogremon, which is what Tai was trying to explain to Matt. Tai was in the battlefield, he saw it in Ogremon's eyes, what the fight between the two meant. Matt wasn't seeing that, he just saw another enemy Digimon. In the original, Matt was more of the emotional one, whilst Tai was at times ice cold. In the original, Matt even says to Tai, not everyone has ice running through their veins, calling him ice cold, which at times he was, because it was always about the mission and the main objective for Tai in the original series. But in this series, and in this very episode, it's reversed. Matt is the one, it seems, cold, whilst Tai is the one being emotional for others. Matt says Tai won't survive if he has this mentality, but Tai keeps his cool and resolve, saying he is determined to save the Holy Angel Digimon. This is mature, very mature, because they didn't have a fist fight. So they're more mature compared to how they were back in the original. For me, whenever I see these two argue, I see two lions arguing with one another. Two leaders who have their opinions and are not afraid to speak their mind. And for me, Tai wasn't liking what Matt was saying, and he had to let out that his opinion was wrong. Both Tai and Ogremon wanted to finish the fight between Ogremon. Tai is way more trusting in this series than he ever was before, especially since it's a former enemy as well. The old Tai would have agreed with Matt in this scenario, because Ogremon is one of the main guys leading the attack against the Digidestined, so that's why he wouldn't trust him. But Tai in this series has a bit of Goku in him, and he can see the good in people, and he ended up being right about Ogremon. Izzy created a map of the Cloud Continent, and he found out that Ogremon was telling the truth, and that the path he showed goes straight to the enemy headquarters. I think one value of a leader that is so underrated is showing trust. and seeing good within people. That's why I say Mimi is a natural leader, because she does that. And Tai did that as well in this episode and in this series so far. In the original series, he lacked that. He was a general, a war commander, a guy that would do anything to survive. But here, we have him being empathetic, trusting. Heck, sometimes he takes a back seat and he lets someone else take charge when he doesn't know what to do, like he did with Matt in episode 8. And speaking of episode 8, he even came up with a plan on the go. He used himself and the other Digidestined as distractions so that Matt can infiltrate the base. He's much more of a balanced leader in this new series, and I like it. Guys, comment down below on who you think was right in this argument between Tai and Matt. And again, in this episode, Tai is using himself as a decoy, whilst the others make ways to that path that Ogremon showed. Tai says that he was using himself as a decoy, but let's be honest, this is revenge for Ogremon, and it's proof of that because of what Ogremon says at the end of the episode. Again, showing Tai that he's more empathetic in this series. Do you guys like that with Tai's character, or is he too perfect? Please guys, comment down below on your opinions. And whilst doing that, hit that subscribe button as well for more Digimon content. Greymon versus MetalTyrannomon. I really like how MetalTyrannomon shoots his attacks from his palms. It's so different to how other Digimon unleash their attacks. But whilst Tai and Greymon are fighting MetalTyrannomon, the others are trapped just outside of a river covered in the same dark mist that is coming out of MetalTyrannomon's mouth. Mimi's jokes. She chucks one of Joe's exam preparation books, and to Joe's dismay, the book just dissolves as soon as it touches the mist, so they won't be swimming across the ocean anytime soon. Greymon and Tai in this fight are trying to use Izzy's tactic that I mentioned earlier, but majority of the fight, they kept on getting swatted away like annoying flies from MetalTyrannomon. One of the attempts, however, Greymon jumps from MetalTyrannomon's tail, and the missile coming out of MetalTyrannomon's palm launches Greymon and Tai away. That shot was solid. I love that. And is it just me, or is Greymon looking small in this episode? One of the shots of that scene, the missile looked just as big as Greymon himself. And how the hell did Tai survive that? Is this guy really Goku in disguise or something? But now we go to the main theme of the episode, which is to never give up and keep pressing forward, which I loved in this episode. Tai and Greymon have basically no chance, and even early on in the episode, I wouldn't have blamed them if they both tried to sneak out of the forest and go straight to the path that Ogremon showed. I wouldn't blame them, because they have no chance against MetalTyrannomon, and that's a fact. But they still didn't care. They used themselves as decoys to fight him. How brave is that? You have this Digimon the size of Godzilla with full metal armor protecting him. I wouldn't blame you guys for seeing this fight out. Heck, train and get stronger. I could see them both going out of their way to look for MetalTyrannomon and challenge him to a fight after doing some training to get Ogremon stronger. But no, they wanted to do it for their fallen friend, Ogremon. Earlier on in the episode, we had Tai's Digivice glowing as a result of Tai's highly emotional state. And as we saw Greymon suplex MetalTyrannomon, we see him grow his left arm into his trident arm. We see the metal chest being implemented. We see Metal Greymon in his full glory. And forgive me for the impression, guys. I can't help but impersonate Metal Greymon. I love his English voice dub. So let me know in the comments down below if you like my impression. When the ball of light started to die down, we see his blue eyes. He just looks fierce and menacing. He almost looks evil. New music was being played in the background, so I'm assuming there's music for Champion, Ultimate, and Mega forms as well. The fight between Metal Greymon and MetalTyrannomon was brief, but he had amazing animation. I love how Metal Greymon used his trident arm to cover one hand of MetalTyrannomon, and he used his mouth to cover the other hand, and he then just uses his tail to whiplash MetalTyrannomon to the ocean of dark mist. And just before MetalTyrannomon is about to go crazy, we see Metal Greymon finish him off with his Gigastorm attack from the sky, completely incinerating him. And now we go to the best line of the episode. I hope Ogremon was watching. I love that. It just adds more depth to Ogremon's character. It was beautifully done, and it was just another top episode of Digimon. We released a episode titles and synopsis video of episodes 11 to 14 earlier in the week, and I said how I didn't like that they were separating. But I guess now it makes sense because of the ocean of dark mist. They have no choice but to split up. But the team dynamics should be exciting to see, hopefully. And now the bad. And this is a small little nitpick, but as we were getting Greymon digivolving into Metal Greymon, I really wanted to see a full evolution. The evolution sequence from Champion to Ultimate from the original series has always been my favorite to see. So I was kinda disappointed that we didn't get the full evolution sequence in this episode. They teased it with the claw and the metal chest, but then we got that massive ball to finish the sequence off. So that was disappointing. But other than that, there's no bad in this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please hit that notification bell to stay up to date with our content. We will be releasing a special video next week in honor of Metal Greymon and MetalTyrannomon and all the other Metal Digimon out there. So stay tuned for that. And as always, care for nothing.